A lot of people know who Honorable Babu Owino is. I don't really need to introduce him, but he's the Member of Parliament of Embakasi East, okay, in Kenya. So thank you very much, my guest, and welcome. So for just with that, before we go into our discussion today, I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself more, because probably I've left something that you want the audience to know about you. So I will start with Jerry's not here. I was meant to start with her. So I will maybe talk a little bit about her. She has an organization called Isikimi, like I said, and she helps a lot of people in that organization. Okay. So people who are going through domestic violence and also rape, you know, and all that stuff. We know how it is. At least she has something that she's started. So she needs our help. Yeah. Okay. And then I have Magnus. So let Magnus introduce himself a little bit further. So Magnus, please.
Okay, thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for organizing this. My name is Murari Gishoke. I go by the brand name Magnus MG. There's a reason for that. I am an African brand storyteller. My background is in design and marketing, creative marketing. That's what I've done. That's what I've done for many years. And I keep doing it. And in the last couple of years, I've also I've also wanted to really speak up for men, especially on the area of mental health. Mental health is very close also to domestic violence, because a lot of mental health issues also happen because of abuse. So I found myself in the middle there because of some of the experiences I've gone through. I didn't plan it. I just happened to be in the space and I talk about it, and you know, people like you also would reach out to me and want to talk about it. So that's my background.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, nobody plans to be caught in domestic violence. So yeah, so thank you very much, Magnus. Okay, Tandy.
Hello everyone, and it's lovely to be here with you, Lydia, in your studio. I'm Tandy, born and raised from Zimbabwe, but because of Lydia and a few other people from Kenya, I am now part of Kenya.
We've abducted you.
I've been to Kenya twice and I absolutely love it and I adore it, and I will be coming back again in due course. But yeah, so I'm Tandy Jacobs, originally from Kenya, like I said. My background, I'm a nurse by background, so I do work, in the front line and everything. But I also have my own show, which is called the Tandy Jacobs Born to Differ Show, where I believe each and every person was born to be different, and everybody has got their own uniqueness, their own style, their own way of doing things, and it's about letting that uniqueness be seen and be exposed, and also about empowering mainly young people to be able to get out there and do things for themselves. Yeah. Because a lot of people get discouraged because that's not what it was done, that's not how it's supposed to be, you're a child, you're going astray, and there's a lot of things that discourage them. But encourage them that, look, it may, just because you're different just because you do something differently doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. So that's what mainly my show is about. But also I look at many things differently. So I'm a youth advocate, entrepreneur, doing businesses here and there, support a lot of charities as well. In terms of the one in Kenya, Donate a Wig with Grace Oguda Reignite, so hence me coming back and forth to Kenya. And also I do emceeing for events.
Okay.
So if you're getting married,
okay,
give me a shout.
Good marriage, though. Good marriage. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I can see Jerry's here with us. So Jerry, we are actually on the process of introducing ourselves. So if you can jump in. I know a lot of people know you because I've heard you. This is almost the third or fourth time because we're campaigning about against domestic violence. So Jerry, yes. Introduce yourself.
Oh, it's my turn to introduce myself.
Yes, it looks like it.
All right. So my name is Njeri Megwe. I am a co-founder and the executive director from Usikimia. Usikimia is an organization that runs a gender-based violence office in Soweto, in Embakasi. We also have a shelter amongst other programs. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, thank you very much, Njeri, for that. And then last but not least, we have Honorable Babu Owino, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone wherever you are. I'm Babu Owino, member of Parliament in Embakasi's constituency, and I can see my constituent Njeri, and I'm so happy to see you, by the way. I'm an actuary, I studied actuarial science, and I'm also a lawyer, a loving husband, and a responsible father, and a member of Parliament. Hope to enjoy the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, last time we spoke about the definition of domestic violence, where Jerry took us through the definition of domestic violence. And we actually identified some things that domestic violence, because people always think that it's only physical. But what we spoke about last time was it can be physical, can be emotional, financially, mentally, sexually. And it can also be between father and mother, like married people. It can be parents to children. It can be children to parents. Okay, so those are things that we spoke about last time. We also spoke about the kangaroo courts that we have, especially in an African setting. So people who don't know what kangaroo court is when something happens, either violent or domestic violence or rape or abuse happens within a family, and then they say, you know what, let's settle it out of court. Probably give some cow or some goat. Can you imagine you being raped and then someone giving you a cow or a goat?
That's going to, solve the issue, solve the problem.
I know.
It's not.
Or sometimes they give you money and then everything is settled. So that's called kangaroo courts. And I don't know if it's all over Africa, but right now I'm talking about Kenya. So we have it in Kenya. So we also spoke about the red flags. Jerry, again, she's very good at this. We went through some red flags as well. What if you see something in your relationship? That's the time to exit. And we also say that we're not advocating for divorce, but sometimes plan to exit is part of divorce.
It is.
Yeah, but that's not what we're advocating for.
No.
Okay. But today we are back here again with our campaign of domestic violence. And I'm so happy that actually Jerry joined us again today. So, moving on, my first question. What are the main causes or reasons for domestic violence? And I'll start with Jerry because I know Jerry is very versatile in this area.
Okay.
So, what are the main causes or reasons for domestic violence? Jerry, please. Unmute yourself, sweetie.
Saying you should have started with the other panelists, and then I conclude for them, because I will say everything and they'll have nothing to say.
No, Jerry, you start it with us, please.
All right. What are the main causes? One of the main causes of domestic violence, and it's the one I'm going to like. That's a root cause. Domestic violence is like a tree. There are root causes, there are branches, and the other things that happen in domestic violence. So one of the main root causes is actually poverty. Yeah. With poverty, that leads to frustration and anger, and eventually, obviously, to domestic violence. So I don't want to go into everything. I want the other people to discuss, and then I come and then I finish up the other things.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Jerry. What about you, Magnus? What do you think? What's your take on the main causes or reasons of DV?
Well, probably from my experience, people who have a huge ego, number one,
Okay.
who don't think they are wrong, would probably do that, and people without a conscience, probably, I would say, and also people who know probably they can get, they can do something and not get cited for it or get away with it. Probably that's what I'd say, because that's what I've experienced myself.
Okay.
Of course, if the laws are not tight enough or the legislation is not good enough, definitely then more people will take advantage of that to commit domestic violence, because they're not, they're charged for it. Or even if they go to the cop station, that's it, and they go back to probably their houses or whatever, and they'll still commit the same thing. So there's a lot that that has to do with it from my experience. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So Tandy, I'll ask you that question.
I mean, I agree with what the two other guests have said in terms of poverty and ego, but I want to add on, most especially to the ego bit, to say culture, and that culture also plays a huge part in it, because if that's what they have seen growing up, it's something that will continue and pass on from generation to generation. And our culture sometimes, and I'm saying this mainly because of the African background, not here in the West and the UK, but mainly the African background, that if they have seen that, if they've grown up in that kind of an environment, and they will begin to normalize the abnormal, and it continues. So somewhere along the lines, whoever started with it, and it has passed on, it becomes a culture, it becomes the norm, it becomes something that you do no matter how professional you are, no matter how qualified, how much of an esteemed person you may be, but when they get home, they can turn into a monster.
So that's like, now it's a circle now, because it started from whoever it started from, which grandpa it went down, and that trickled down from generation to generation. And like I said, like you just said, it's not about how much you're educated or how much money you have. You can get caught in that. Either you're a perpetrator or you're the victim.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll ask the same thing to Honorable Babu Owino as well.
Thank you, Lydia. One of the reasons that causes, that leads to domestic violence would be, or is, drugs and substance abuse. Another could be mental illness. There could be matters unfaithfulness, which is also a factor considered during divorce. There's also irretrievable breakdown, which also is also a factor that leads to divorce. So I think those are some of the reasons that can lead to domestic violence.
Okay, thank you very much. Jerry, is there anything else you want to add on to it, or that's fine?
Religion,
okay.
Religion, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes religion comes in between a couple. We will also talk about culture. Yeah, I think somebody mentioned cultural values.
Yeah.
As well as alcoholism. That is part of substance abuse, but alcoholism largely contributes into this, and also, unfortunately, gender inequality.
Gender, okay. Thank you.
And lack of education.
Okay. Do you think lack of education as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, cool. Okay, thank you very much, guys. So I'm going to my second question. In regards to perpetrators, I'll ask this to Honorable Babu Owino first. In regards to perpetrators, what help or support or punishment do you think they should get as perpetrators?
Number one, I think the mitigating laws are already set up in the penal code, where if a person abuses somebody, for example, an abuse that leads to an assault is charged as per the penal code, which attracts a sentence that is within the penal code. There's also an assault that can lead, that can cause grievous harm. That is also one of the charges that a perpetrator can meet. There's also, there can be an assault that can also lead to murder, taking somebody's life, loss of life, and that you'll be charged with murder. So it depends on the type of offense that you are charged with. And there could also be rape or defilement, where all these cases, there are ways of proving them, of course. And when it comes to matters, domestic violence, it's very easy, and the threshold is very low. For example, when you come to rape, proof is just penetration. When it comes to defilement, proof is only based on age, because you don't need to consent about it. So lack of consent also in rape, and also penetration. When it comes to defilement, we talk about age. You don't need to prove consent, because it's just a matter of age. So there are also like an assault where it will be visible when you assault somebody, most of the cases are so visible. Loss of life leads to murder, where it is just unknown. If it is not murder, then probably it could be manslaughter, where murder is where there is malice aforethought, when the intent was to kill, when you had premeditation, when you had prepared to kill. Where manslaughter comes in, probably you didn't intend to kill your partner, but at least accidentally the partner died. You can be charged for manslaughter. So I think our penal code takes care of that, on how a penetrator should be dealt with. We also have the Children's Act, where children are protected within the Act. So in certain circumstances, there are situations where also parents are also charged for assaulting a child, because children are nowadays protected within the Act. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Just to add on to what you've said, so do you think that because of influence of DV, do you think perpetrators of domestic violence or violence in general are getting away with the crime? So what's your opinion, and what do you think should be done to combat or deal with the DV and assure victims that there is hope to get justice? Because as we've seen right now, especially in our Kenya right now, there's a lot of perpetrators getting away with so much crime, either domestic or crime in general. So what do you think that can be done, should be done, to combat or deal with the DV, to assure victims that there's hope in getting justice, so that when people run to Njeri can very, very happily tell them that this is what we have in place for you to get justice? Because right now, a lot of people are hopeless.
I think when it comes to issues influence, we don't want to presume that every other person who is involved in domestic violence is an influential person. We don't want to assume that. And majorly, even the influential persons or people, there's a very slim chances of them getting involved, but they do get involved. I can't deny that, but there are slim chances because they want to protect their image and integrity, most importantly. But every case, when you file for a criminal case, number one, you have to prove this case beyond reasonable doubt with facts, not factoids, and law. There are certain circumstances where it is the role of the prosecution to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal case. There are some people who opt to file a civil case when they meet, when they are met with violence. Then they want probably compensation. Then they file a civil case. When it comes to a civil case, you just have to prove your case on a balance of probability. You don't have to go beyond reasonable doubt. So it depends on how you file your case. And it's not about the influence, because we've had influential people in prison, they're being arrested. I think it's just about the law and the facts, and how you prove your case.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Babu Owino, for that. So I'll go to Njeri now, and I'll ask Njeri, why do you think most women going through DV stay in the relationship? Why do most women stay in the relationship? And when you're outside, you're looking inside and you're thinking, get out. This man is doing this to you. This man is doing this to you. Because Njeri, today you're actually presenting the women. So when I'm talking to you, I'm not going to mention men. So you're looking at these women and you're thinking, what are you doing? Get out. But she keeps on giving you excuse 1 and B and C, and I don't know. Why do you think that is?
First of all, you need to understand that there are women who stay, one, because of financial instability. Finances are a very big factor. If somebody is not working, they don't have a stable source of income, and maybe the only source of income they have is this man, then chances are they're not going to. That's one. Two, women stay because one of the things I hear a lot nakaa kwa sababu ya watoto. I'm here because of the children. That's one of the excuses people do. Then there is societal expectations. The stigma that surrounds divorced women is very high because it means loss of social status. Even sometimes in churches, they're looking at a divorced woman being treated differently, loss of friends. And of course the stigma that you carry around that she did not manage to keep her house, her house together. So obviously then these are part of the reason that this person is not going to leave. The other one is socialization. When you go back home and your mom is telling you, your friends are telling you my marriage is even worse than yours, then what are the chances of this person to leave? The other thing is called trauma bonding, where you've been with this person for so long, it's sort of like a Stockholm syndrome, and you don't know how to get yourself out of this situation. And as I talked to you the other time, that when you're looking at issues like DV, we're also looking at a cycle of violence, where this person beats you today, and he makes you so happy tomorrow as an apology that by the time I'm coming to you as Njeri and I'm telling you need to leave this man, you're in a good place with this person, and you're thinking in your heart, because women are naturalists, this person is going to change, you understand? So you find that a lot of women are stuck in relationship where they think, hey, this man is going to change, and he doesn't change. So those are just some of the reasons that we look at where women are unable to leave bad marriages. And
And do you think, with giving me all these reasons, finances, watoto is children, friends, church, socialization, do you think it's worth it staying for any of these reasons if you're in a domestic violence? And again, we are not campaigning or advocating for divorce, but do you think this is a good reason to stay behind and get beaten every day? And I see your post on Facebook, and the women, the way that I see stitches and I see teeth out, and I'm thinking, why? Do you think these reasons are good enough to stay?
Let me put it this way. First of all, it is no. It's a no for me. In 2019, 139 women died. Wow. 167 women died the other year, 2020. These are just recorded. These are not facts I'm spouting from any. These are media recorded cases of femicide, where a woman was killed by their spouses. We have about 10 men who died and 167 women who died. I will never tell somebody who is in a violent marriage. The other things you can talk about and even go for counseling and sort these issues out, but I will never tell a woman who is in a violent marriage to stay. Reason being is I have seen, I don't know whether Honorable Babu is even aware that the beginning of this year, 2021, a girl in Soweto died. She was killed by her spouse. She was 19, a mother of 2 children, and she was killed by her husband. And I had tried to get this girl out of that marriage. I kept on talking to her, and then somehow the man would stalk her, and she would go back. And in the beginning of this year, Cynthia Awar, I don't forget people who have died, and I have dealt with them. She passed on, and that's it. So you cannot convince me that staying in a marriage for the same reasons that I have mentioned, and especially a violent marriage, is the reason for you to stay. Chances of you being killed, and especially nowadays where everybody's on a trigger-thin temper, chances are you're going to die.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. So I'll go to Magnus now. So Magnus, now we're talking about men with you. So why would a man going through DV cover it up? Is it ego, like you mentioned earlier? Is it shame? What is it? Why would a man go through this and just stay and just think it's normal?
I'll give you my experience for sure. It's a shame. Everything that Njeri said, flip it to a man. Every single thing, every single point she said, flip it to a man. The only difference is women would not beat a man, but they're emotionally abusive as much. So emotional, physical is similar. It's 50-50. In my opinion, from what I've seen, from what I've experienced, emotional abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. And it's the exact same thing she said: social status, nakaa sababu ya watoto, shame, it could be the man is also earning less. I've seen that, I've experienced that, where the woman is earning more, the man is earning less. So he says, I can't leave because I can't be able to probably do a number of things on my own. So I'll stay because maybe we're sharing certain bills. How will I be able to do this? And I've got huge loans I'm paying on the other side. If I go, I don't know how to be able to manage this. The shame in church, the shame with your friends, social standing, so there's exactly what she said is a flip for men. Exactly what she said. And I'll give you a statistic also. 80% of men commit suicide compared to 20% of women.
Yeah. Wow.
So it tells you, even from the physical side, and I really empathize with the women who get physically abused. That's terrible. Seeing someone, who has been beaten is not. I've experienced that with a couple of my friends, and I've reached out to them because I told them this is unacceptable in my opinion. And same thing. I just told her, leave. I've told a couple of women, leave. This physical abuse is too much. Someone can't beat you. You're beaten your teeth, your eyes, your what, and you stay. Trauma bonding, same thing. Stockholm syndrome for men, exactly the same. You're so stuck to this person, emotionally abusing you. You don't know anything else beyond that, right? And remember, by that time, emotional abuse, someone also will remove you from your friends.
Yes.
They become probably the center of your life. So exactly the same points, just flip for men. The only difference is for men, because now that is not showing on the outside. We are not beaten. It doesn't show, because we're not. It doesn't physically show, but inside is just as bad, because a man is struggling with, how do I tell other men? How do I sit in front of Babu, who is my friend, for example, and tell him that my wife is emotionally abusing me every single day? She tells me, she does things, she does actions and words that continually hurt you. And you see, the worst thing about, for me, is emotional abuse. You never realize it until you have education about it. You never realize it. Unlike physical hurt, where someone hits you and this is domestic violence.
Yes.
For men, you don't realize it probably later, much later, many years on. You say, wait a minute, what she did was neurotic. That's totally insane. Why would she say that about me? Why would she do that? Why wouldn't she do that? And later on, when men realize this, then it really creeps up on your ego. By that time, it has already damaged your ego, your confidence, your ability to do so many things. So you're still stuck in the same loop of sasa nikienda watoto, or sasa nikienda watu wanaume watanichekelea, because it's true, men do laugh at each other, about things like that. Or how do I tell men that she's been emotionally abusing me for 5 years, for 10 years? How do I explain that? And I just recently found out that this is emotional abuse. I had no idea it was emotional abuse. The things she says, the things she does, the actions, that she takes. So we don't realize it as men until it is bad. And at that point, I can't go to another man and probably tell him because of my ego. So I burn with it. I start dying inside and start looking for a way out. And usually for men, the way out is suicide.
Wow. But there's also, I know you're talking about emotional abuse mostly with men, but even with men, there is some women who are very strong physically. They actually hit their men physical as well. Because I've seen that. I've seen where women are also hitting men physically.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen that. I've seen that personally. I've seen a man who's been physically abused by his wife because he can't hit back. She beats him. She, slaps him. She injures him. His eye. Because probably this for us is probably the most vulnerable part. And when asked, he said, nilijigonga kwa mlango, or nilianguka kwa stairs, nilikuwa napanda nini nikajigonga na, same story that women give, same exact story, the man will give, because I can't fathom myself coming to you, Lydia, and telling you my wife hit me. Okay, because I have a black eye, or I have scratches on my face, like this guy had scratches on his face and he had a black eye. And he couldn't tell anyone that it is his wife who did this in the middle of a brawl when she was drunk, and it damaged him for so long until finally when he spoke up and said, "I'm done with this. I can't keep lying." And by that time, when he said it, what happened? Men laughed at him and said, kumbe ulikuwa unachapa na bibi. You know, and of course that now made him also retreat back and not want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
Because now this side you're ridiculed at home, and on this other side with your friends or in society, your you know, fellow men are ridiculing you, and also women ridiculous. Say, how unachapwa aje, when mkubwa, you're bigger than her.
Yeah.
You know, so it does happen. It's the same kind of emotional hurt and psychological hurt. Same feeling. The only difference for men is that you won't find as many cases where it's physical. Most of it is emotional. Very few cases where it's physical. Of course, and again, like I said, men don't talk about it.
Yeah.
They will lie. They will cover. They will say, no, this is not my wife who did it. It's nilikuwa napigana na mtu kwa bar akanichapa. In fact, that is a story that I've had a couple of times.
Yeah.
Instead of saying it's your wife who beat you or your partner, you say, you know, you had a brawl with your boda guy and, you know, uligongwa. So just to cover the situation, because if you say the truth, men will laugh at you.
Yes.
Which is even, yeah.
Thank you very much. It's quite a sad situation to be in.
It is.
You're caught in between. At home, you have no peace. Outside, you can't talk to your friends because they'll laugh at you and look at you.
Not even just saying at home, because there was a clip that went around where they showed a woman beating a man in the high street in town. And when the woman was beating up her husband, people were laughing. The public was literally laughing as they walked by. They showed different venues, different places. The public was laughing. They were laughing at the man. Then they switched it around. That same woman was now being beat up at the man. And everybody jumped in. You know, literally everybody jumped in and was now, and the man was literally being beaten up by other men.
Yeah.
As in, how can you hit this woman? So exactly like what
Magnus,
is saying, Magnus is saying, that men, it's not taken seriously. It's deemed as weak. They will laugh at you. So to have the courage to report it, it won't happen. Hence the rise in suicide.
Suicide, exactly. That's just what I wanted to say. So now I'll come to you, Tandy. Well, people use regards to children. People use children as scapegoats, and they suffer a lot in the battlefield when there is all this domestic violence. So just how much does DV affect children? Because I know you are a youth advocate.
The thing is, unknown to people, unknown to parents, there is 95% of children are affected by domestic violence. In terms of mentally, psychologically, emotionally, they are affected. And you think just because it's a child that they will not get affected. I mean, the other guests were talking about, especially Njeri was talking about women saying, I'm going to stay for the sake of my children.
Yeah.
That is doing more damage. That is doing literally more damage. And I know of a case or a scenario where, and this happened, where the mother was being abused. The father was physically abusive, financially abusive. And the child was seeing that she had 2 children. They have 2 children. And one day she'd had enough and she packed up. When she got into the car with the 2 children to drive off to go to a hotel, the first thing, the child was about 14 years old. He says, Mom, for the past 5 years, I have been praying that you would leave Dad. 5 years I've been praying you would leave Dad. And yet she decided, thinking, I'm staying for the sake of my children. And yet the children have been praying that you would leave Dad. But because they can't voice it out, they can't raise their voice because it will be seen as, don't speak against your dad, don't speak against your mom, don't do this. At the end, what's happened to the children? When they go to school, they can't be as free and laugh and talk because of that trauma. And hence them suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. It continues from generation to generation. Every year of their life, every time it goes on, this will affect them. Those things will remain. And it's not about the wounds that they can see, like somebody was commenting, saying the wounds may heal, but it's what happens inside. They will know that my mom was abused, my dad was abused. And this will stay with them for life. And it affects them academically.
And probably they'll carry on as well doing the same thing to their partners because they saw mom stayed, dad stayed.
Mom, see, that's what then happens. Because if you stay, if the parent stays, if any parent stays in that kind of toxic environment, a child will move from one stage of thinking this is wrong to thinking, actually, if my mom can stay, if my dad can stay, then why not? If they get married and if their husband abuses them, they think I have to stay because mom stayed. Or they think I have to abuse my wife because mom stayed, so why can't I do it?
So why
Dad did it. Why are you complaining? What's your problem? This is, like I said, it's made as if it's the norm, and yet it's not.
It's not, because people actually die in the process.
They do.
Wow.
They do.
It's for the children. I feel so much pain for the children who are entangled around this domestic violence.
Children are so entangled. You see, there's a singer actually who sang in Zimbabwe saying, when you are having your fights and your quarrels, do not do this in front of the children, because this affects them. You are their home. Home is their kingdom. Home is a place of zen. It's a place of rest. It's a place of peace. You should be at peace when you're at home. But if you are experiencing this kind of trauma, there's violence, whether it's financial, and the thing is, some of the things, and as much as they may be not physical, the emotional and the financial, it has an impact on the child.
Yes.
A child can sense something is not right. That's where you will see a child continuously asking, what's wrong? Are you okay, mom? What's the problem?
Yes.
Or you snap. You easily snap and you're shouting at the children for no reason. They spilled a cup of milk and you're raising your voice and going on for no reason. It's because of all those things that have been said to the woman or to the man, and at the end,
so you're projecting
you are exerting
that.
Exactly, you're projecting it towards the children.
Oh.
And it carries on.
Wow. Okay, so now in terms of power in an abused relationship, who has the upper hand, or who would you say that has the upper hand of power? I'll start with Honorable Babu Owino again with that question, so I'll ask it again. In terms of power in an abused relationship, who would you say has the upper hand of power? I'll start with Honorable Babu Owino with that, please.
It's a very tricky question, but number one, when you're in a relationship, you know why you are getting involved in this relationship. In a marriage setup, there is no competition. There is nothing you want to outwit your partner on. So personally, I've been married for 11 years. And in my marriage for 11 years, I know that number one, love is patient. Love is peaceful. Love does not hurt. Love is forgiving. And in any marriage setup, if you know what you want to achieve in terms of love, short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals, then you will never lose the sight of a gazelle for a dashing squirrel. The squirrel is the violence that you introduce in your marriage life. So for me, it's not about who has power in marriage. The Bible says that a man should love the wife. A man will leave his father and mother and will meet the wife of a choice, and they will settle together. So, if the Bible says so, and the Bible dictates that a man should love the wife should be submissive to the husband. Everybody in a marriage knows their roles in that marriage. So to me, it's not about who has power over who. But by the time these issues, elements of violence are being traced, then when one person goes low, the other one should be high, rise above it, postpone the fights. You don't need to fight as at that moment. You can postpone that discussion if it is being hostile, because you will always realize, as a man, you need to know that this woman, you know why you married this woman. One of the reasons is because of the love that you have for her. So postpone the fight to a later date. So for me, it's not about who has the power over the other. So on the issue of the children, you talked about it. I really wanted to contribute about it also.
Okay.
That the same Bible says that teach a child the ways of the Lord, and that child will not depart from those ways at a later stage in life. Equally, teach a child evil ways, and that child will not depart from those evil ways. There were two sons, and their father was alcoholic. So these two children grew with the father as an alcoholic. Then one turned out to be an alcoholic. The other one turned out to achieve his dream of being a doctor. So when they were both asked how this affected them, they both said, "I saw my dad drinking." So one used it to his positive, the other one emulated exactly what the dad was doing and turned out to be an alcoholic. So I believe that when it comes to issues of children, you need to raise them up in the best way possible as parents. You need to give them time, you need to discuss with them. In case there are issues between you as parents, you need to postpone. You don't need to meet that in their presence.
So
I think that's all.
yeah, so you should, when it comes to arguments and everything, I think somebody should think of taking time out, because on the moment of reflex, that's when we do something and we regret.
Yeah.
But it's too late. You've either killed your partner, you've hurt them. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I think rest, just like your Honorable Babu Owino said, you should take time out and think about your action. Because if you don't think about your action, that's when you find yourself in hot soup.
Yeah.
And also, what about those two children is, I think it's a choice. At the end of the day, we have choices as well. Even though we've gone through all that, we've seen the society, the community, our families, we've seen war and fighting, and we don't know nothing else, because you always say that you give what you have.
Yeah.
So all you have is violence, violence, violence. So you're thinking that's what I should give. But again, we also have a choice, and you have the cycle, and you make your own mind and say, you know what, I'm going to break this cycle. So this cycle, I'm going to break it, and I'm not going to behave like my dad. So just like in that story, one boy chose this and the other boy chose that.
Yeah.
So one made a choice that I'm not going to behave like my dad, even though I still respect my dad. Do you understand? It's the respect, because even if your dad is drinking alcohol and your mom doing this, is the children now disrespecting the parents?
Exactly.
And I think we're going to talk about that as well later.
we will.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll go to the same question that I asked Honorable Babu Owino to Magnus. In terms of power in an abusive relationship, who would you say that has the upper hand?
Honestly, I don't think anyone has the upper hand, especially when you have focus and vision for what you want. I'll give you an example. I always believe that, and exactly, a man is on who leads, and at the end of the day, the woman also is a huge support system. Without both of them, there's no marriage really without both of them. So each of them play a role, right? Everyone plays their role and should play their role well. So there's no place that the balance of power is. Of course, there are situations where, when it's an abusive relationship, now I'm talking about either gender, because both genders, my experience has been on my side, where the other gender, who's a woman, has shown and has been totally emotionally abusive. When it comes to a place of finances, number one, now finances are a big issue. When one partner is usually earning a lot more than the other, that is a problem, or it can become a problem. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it can become a problem. I don't think in my experience, it was never a problem. However, when the other partner is earning more, usually there's a lot more power play, because either they have more finances to be able to do what they want to do and how they want to do it without any accountability. Now, that has, again, it's a choice. It's really a choice, because I'll give you my example. My father, this is now what our mother told us, with my brothers and my brother and my sisters. Later on, much later after my dad had died, my dad had gone through a very hard time at work, and he had gone through some very tough situations at work, where he was put aside. He was indicted for a while. He was suspended. Let's say suspended for a while, and it was over 10 years, right? Government, all that. So my mom earned more than him because she was in the private sector. My dad was in the civil sector, so he was a civil servant, and she was working for a private firm, and she earned more than him for so many years, right? But I never even once saw my mom treat my dad badly. Now, she told us this after my dad had died, and she told us, do you know that your dad? You remember your dad didn't have a job or was being paid, just a very small amount. I was in private sector. I was being paid so much more, probably 3-4 times more than him. And from this period up to the time he died, no one ever knew. None of us, and we were adults by then. We were over 25, all of us. So none of us ever knew that my mom was earning more. So this is really a choice. When one partner, for example, the one who earns more, decides to take that power play and use it to their advantage to emotionally or physically abuse the other person. So maybe the numbers could be higher in men, especially because maybe at this particular, maybe the woman might be earning less, but there are also cases of men where the woman is earning more and she becomes abusive. She initiates the domestic violence. So the power play is really a choice. It's nothing to do with gender. It is a choice where someone personally makes a choice, whether it's a man or a woman, to use that advantage of either strength in financial power or networks or connections to be able to abuse the other person.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to say something, and Jerry, you can disagree with me, or Honorable Babu Owino, or Tandy, or Magnus. You can disagree with me. My mom was in a domestic violence. In fact, one day my dad beat this woman, who is my mom. I love her so much. She's still alive. And I love my dad as well. And all her teeth was hanging out. And she ran to the neighbor, and the neighbor just hit her teeth back in. So her teeth was like this. It's now that we had to repair her teeth for her. And when I was old, I was like, Mom, why did you stay? She was like, oh, because of you children. But the woman went through so much suffering in her life. I never saw my mom happy. She was always just sad. So for me, I made a choice, but also I found myself in the same situation. See, when I had my ex, and when I was still in Kenya, thank God for coming to the UK, because if I was still in Kenya, I think he would have killed me, because he just used to really beat me up. And I thought it was okay because I saw my mom going through that. So I'll run away. He'll come and say he's sorry, and I'll take him back, and we start again. And it just looked like it's the norm. But for me, asking that question to myself, and I just want to be controversial here, I think the person who has the power in a relationship is the victim. That's what I think. Because I feel like the victim, you have the power, you've given your power to someone else to use it. That is how I think. And my mom was in that relationship, domestic violence. I was in domestic violence physically before I left Kenya. But when I came here, now it was emotionally. Because this country, you can't, if you beat someone, you go to jail.
Yeah, straight away.
No way about it.
Doubt.
So it's different from Africa. And because now, he tried once to beat me here, and he was 8 or 20 policemen came, and that was the day. He didn't touch me again. So it's something that you can actually stop. It's something you can actually say.
You are saying the victim has got the power.
That's what I was saying. I want to be controversial. I know I can see Jerry smiling because she wants to jump in and say, I disagree with you there, which is fine. You can disagree with me. But I feel like the victim has the power, because I feel like if you have this cup and you give it to someone else, then that person is going to do whatever they want to do with your cup. But if this cup is yours to keep, you can keep it, and that person will not take it.
But then if you've given the power away, that means you don't have it anymore.
That you should take it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If you give the power away, so it's up to you as a victim, and that's just me. And I know everybody's going to disagree with me, which is okay. But that's my thinking. If you give, I'm coming, Jerry, because Jerry's like, whoa, I'm here. I'm here. If you give your power away, you should take the power back. That's my thinking, because I got to a point when I took my power back. And when I took it back, I now saw myself, I valued myself, I loved myself, and I came out.
You were able to take action.
I was able to take the power back and then take action.
And take action, because if you have given that power away, if somebody has killed your self-esteem, has belittled you to a nothing, you literally don't have the strength or the power to be able to fight back. It's until you fight for your strength to come back,
To take the
until
power
you
back.
speak to the inner self.
Yes.
And then you can be able to exert that level of energy and get your power back. I think letting Jerry talk.
Let Jerry say
because she's
something.
been raising her
I
hand
know,
and
even
shouting.
Magnus there, everybody wants to attack me. Please don't. Okay, go on.
No, we're not attacking you. We're not attacking you. I think what it is because of the trauma of domestic violence and abuse, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to even the pattern of how you think is not straight. So it's very difficult to take that back or know that first you have the power and then do something about it, because your confidence is killed, your ego is killed. And remember, ego is both for men and women, right? The confidence is same for men and women. It's almost at a point where you're doubting everything you do, that it's difficult. You don't know the next step. You can't take the next step. You're totally indecisive. You're scared. You're fearful. That pattern is built into your head. So it's not as easy. Yes, it's when we say it to you've done it before. So I do agree. Yes, someone should be able to stand up and say, no, I'm done, walk away. However, many people, because of trauma bonding, it's not possible. I'll give you my experience. I was not able to do it for so many years, yet I could see it day by day, being told nasty things every day. Let me give you an example. I went to hospital twice.
Wow.
Because of emotional abuse. I slept in hospital twice, and each time I came home, right, because so much was happening, home was not a safe space, work was not a safe space, whatever, and so much was happening. I was making so many losses in my business. It was just terrible. Every time I came home, I used to think, okay, maybe she has a point, right? Maybe I'm not man enough. Everything she used to say, maybe I'm not man enough. Maybe I should go back and get a job. Maybe I should, and you don't get to a point, you actually question yourself more than question the situation you're in. And this happened for so many years until I came out of hospital the first week, she's telling me that I'm pretending. I have a doctor's note, a psychologist or whoever, I have a series of doctors who've told me so many things, but because the fact she told me I'm pretending, I actually started thinking I'm pretending. When I went to hospital the second time, 3 weeks later, she's telling me, get out of the house. Now she's kicking me out. Yes, I do agree you can take back your power, because I did. I went back, I slept on it. I said, let me sleep on it. When I slept on it and I just talked to a couple of people and I said, no, why should I leave? I'm not the one in wrong. I'm the one who's just come from hospital, 2 weeks ago, and now she's chasing me out of a house that I'm paying rent because, I don't have an ability to do it. Yes, you can take back your power, but it's so hard. It takes so many things for you to get there.
I know it's easier said than done, but it can be done. I was there for 10 years. I was in an abusive relationship for 10 years. And I'm telling you, every time, even my neighbor stopped smoking for 2 years. And she told me one day, if you take that man back, I'll go back to smoking and I'll blame you. But I still took him back. So it's hard. I know it's hard, but it can be done.
Of course, yeah.
And that is just what I'm telling people out there, that yes, you can take your power back. It's not easy, but yes, you can. So Jerry, yes, Jerry.
All right. First, you're wrong.
Oh, dear Lord.
No, it's not an attack on your person. It's an attack on the
fine.
stance that you've taken.
That's fine.
And yes, you're also right. You're also correct in saying that you can take the power back. But it is what you need to go through before you are able to take back your power.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to realize that when you are a victim and you're going through the violence that you're going through, is that one, you are experiencing a whole array of emotions inside of you that you are not able, somebody like the people who are telling you, you can leave this man, I'm even going to stop smoking and you can remove this man. They were telling you this because they felt like you had the ability to leave. But the thing is, as a victim, your ability to even reason, as Magnus has said, is completely compromised.
Yeah.
You are afraid. I remember being very, very afraid. It was like Allah. And then the first of all fear, next of all stigmatization. You remember the thing I said?
Yes.
You feel isolated. You feel like nobody can relate to what you've been going through. Mm-hmm. So you are isolated. There's that feeling of helplessness. Like, what can I do? And then in Kenya, where systems don't work, I'm sorry, Babu, but this is the truth. Systems don't work. We don't have a good reporting system. We don't have good policing. We don't have a good. By the time your case goes to the judge, that is if it will ever go to the judge, you've already been deterred by the chief. You've been deterred by the police. So, you know, that already compromises the reporting system we have. Your neighbors are already telling you, Msamehe, the church is telling you, forgive him. You have all these systems. Here, systems work against you, whereas in other places, systems actually work. But here, systems work against you.
Yeah.
System work against you. So, the other thing here also is that you are unaware of what services are offered here. Not many, it's now that people like me are out here telling people, hey, this is what you need to do in case you're beaten, this is what you need to do in case of domestic violence, and so on and so forth. For most people, they're not aware of what services are offered, where, what to do, how to go about it. Do I go to hospital? Do I run away to my parents? Go back to your parents and your parents send you back.
Yeah.
Do you understand how skewed this system is against a victim? So you're fighting not only your own self, you're already helpless, we have agreed on that. You're helpless, you're isolated, you're fighting yourself, and then you're fighting a system. It's already hard enough, you know? And then you're fearing judgment, you're fearing stigmatization. And then the other thing that we do, and I think Magnus also exposed on it, he said, you know, most of us deny or minimize the abuse.
Yeah.
You deny and minimize the abuse, and then, remember, this is somebody you love. It's not actually this is somebody now because he beat you yesterday, now today you hate him. No, this is somebody you still love.
Yeah.
Also, people stay in these relationships. So all these are factors conspiring and have taken away your power to even say I am able, you know, to leave and things like that. And besides that, most of the victims are financially dependent on the other. So the power does not belong to the victim at all. That's why you're a victim. You know, you're a victim, and that's why when you leave, you become a survivor. You're no longer a victim. You are now a survivor. Things have changed.
Yes.
And again,
Can I chip in something there very, very quickly? I think from her perspective, and from I'm now also talking about myself. By the time I realized all that is happening, of course, everything had gone really south. But it also takes a very strong personality, and for sure, Lydia got a strong personality. I've got a strong personality, but it doesn't stop us from being abused. However, a lot of people, especially women, might not have that strong personality, and then that's the biggest issue now with taking back your power. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
and the other thing. Oh, sorry. You
Yes,
can.
of course.
All right.
Yes,
So
no.
I'm saying the other thing is, and that maybe happens to every person who is going through domestic abuse, is that they are always hopeful. There's always the hope that this person is going to change. It is what keeps us there. It's the fact that you're always hopeful. Oh my God, my abuser is going to change and he's going to stop the abuse, especially abuse that goes round through a cycle. Where I taught you last time that abuse has a cycle, right? It starts with the honeymoon stage, the tension stage, and of course, explosion stage, where is the stage where things just, take the violence stance. So when all this is happening to a person, you have to understand that the state of mind of this person is never the same. There are times when your dopamine is up because you're happy and you're thinking things are okay, and the time when cortisol, the stress and anxiety hormones are, they're the ones controlling you because you're fearful. So for you to break this cycle, everything is against you. So for the people who are able to break, kudos to them, and being able to live, but we need a lot of psychosocial support. And in a country, again, where social support is a rumor, and it's and where we have also normalized abuse.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We had Honorable Babu Owino who wanted to chip in, say something.
I've heard your story, and I'm deeply sorry about it. I think one of the main reasons takes me back to the question that you asked, that what are some of the causes of domestic violence. One of the main reasons that leads to domestic violence is how you are brought up, the historical issues, your upbringing. By the time you are getting married, a man will be looking for his mother in that woman. And the woman will be looking for his father, his dad in that man. Most of the people are brought up empty. Most of the people are brought up with single parents. They don't experience the love of a father. Some don't experience the love of a mother. Some experiences neither. So this person has been left to grow. On top of that, there's poverty. So you've been left to grow. You grow up as an empty person. There is nothing, you've never seen a proper relationship in your life. So when you grow up, that is what is likely to happen to you. So one of the most fundamental things to do to curb this is probably, but before getting married, you need to seek for counseling.
Yeah.
Then you need to go deep down your roots. How are you brought up? What kind of a person are you? Some people have so many poisons of life. One of them being anger, temper. Another thing is bitterness. And you know, by the time you are bitter, bitterness is always like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. It's next to impossible. So for me, if we can always solve this from the roots, the root cause of all these things, the major cause could be as a result of your upbringing. It really disturbs, so that you find a man will continually say that tomorrow I will change. With that hope, the lady comes back. But the man behaves in a same way, in a beastly way, the same way. So what happens is that this man is empty. This man probably has never learned the art of loving. He has never seen, he has never experienced. The best way to avoid also some of these challenges of domestic violence is always to change yourself.
Yeah.
In a marriage, don't expect to change another person. They will never change. But change yourself. When you change yourself, the other person automatically changes. Automatically. And try this in your current relationship, anybody. The moment you change yourself, the moment you avoid competition, the moment as a man you tell your wife, you start treating her like the first day you met. Take her for dates, coffee, breakfast, lunch, dinner, movies, visit a few hotels here and there, spend time together, discuss issues. You will see a positive energy on the other side. A lady, when your man comes back drunk in the middle of the night, how do you respond to this man? Do you meet him at the door with a quarrel, with a fight? Or do you serve him food and postpone that fight to a later date? Will your ego control you? Will your ego blind you in such a way that what you are seeing as at that moment is violence as compared to the bigger picture that you're supposed to achieve in your life? Because marriage is a lifetime experience. It's a lifetime contract for me. So the best thing to do is to change yourself. When you change yourself, the other partner automatically changes. So coming back to where you are saying that you kept on going back to your man, maybe genuinely the man was feeling you, or he loved you, or maybe he still loves you, but he didn't know how to deal with these historical issues, how to deal with the emptiness, how to deal with the upbringing. So not unless we go to the roots, not unless we start solving these challenges from the roots, we can never achieve any desirable result.
Okay, thank you. I know you're talking about love there. Do you think it's love, Thandi, in a domestic violence? Do you think there's love
that is lacking,
or
that is
no? That the man say I love you and he keeps beating you. The woman say I love you. That's why I'm doing this. Because they always say, oh, it's because I love you. You made me do this, but you know I love you, and then they beat you again. I love you. Do you think that's love?
Well, clearly that's not the definition of what love is. But you see, these kind of behaviors that one exposes only happen when you're now in the home, in the marriage. Because when you're dating, most cases, I think maybe 60 or 70%, I'm sure Njeri would know, and Magnus would know the statistics, that most people don't exhibit those kind of behaviors.
Mine
They are
started
not-
when we were dating and I was still there. So imagine if I got married. I would have died.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in most cases, some people don't exert that kind of behavior. So if I'm to date somebody right now, if my husband right now was abusive whilst we were dating, there was no way I was going to stay for that. But you see, what happens is when you are given love, and love, when it comes in a basket with all these flowers, that's the kind of love that sometimes makes a person stay. But then love is not all about the gift. Love is in what you do. That shows that you love this person. Love is not the gift, because if they beat you up today and then tomorrow you come back home, they're going to cook a meal for you and give you all this and cuddle you, and you think this is what makes it right. But it doesn't. So it's either their definition of love that is wrong, that is completely messed up, or they don't even know what love is. Love never existed. But like what Honorable was saying, that if this is something that they saw growing up, and unless they've made the choice to want to change, this will continue.
Yeah.
It will continue. And I know of a certain woman, she's Kenyan, she's very popular, quite, and you know her, I won't mention her name, who, she talks about it actually, talks about how she grew up in her parents were very abusive. The home style was very toxic, a lot of shouting and negative energy. And she said it was only when she was 9 and she went to her friend's house, and when she saw them sitting at the table, eating with a fork and knife, the dad pulling the chair out for the wife, them laughing and clapping hands, that she realized, oh,
Something is wrong with that.
so something is wrong over there.
Yeah.
This is what is actually, I like this. I don't like that one. I like this. So it was the exposure and the deciding that this is what I would want. Of course, she goes on and then says when she got married, because of what she grew up, she still kind of exerted those kind of behaviors
traits, yeah.
and traits, was a bit abusive in different ways. But later on began to change and realize because she still wanted and still reflects on that when she was a 9-year-old and she went to a friend's house, and this is how they've seen it. So it's all kind of mixed up together. It's all kind of mixed up together. And the love that was mentioned, I think one thing I wanted to say, coming back to your question where you asked about who is the upper hand,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to say that, you see, the perpetrator, it's all about mind games.
Mind games, yeah.
Once you talked about power and they said choice, you see, and it's one of the things that, and I'm sorry to say, but the enemy sometimes uses those things. They isolate you, they take away, they belittle you, take away your self-esteem, take away your beauty, belittle you and make you seem as if you are nothing. Once all that is gone and you think in your mind, I am completely and 100% dependent on this person.
You can only rely
for
on
love,
them.
finance,
Yeah.
or sometimes it might not even be finances, because you may be very well off, have a company,
Yeah.
good job, but when you come home, it's a completely different matter. So all those things, they are taken away from you, and be told that when you get into this house, you're no longer a manager, you are now a nothing. All that is abuse, and then the mind games start, and hence it going on and on and on.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who is watching us on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Somebody say, oh, Lydia, you're correct in saying victims can reclaim, but they need to renew their mind strength to do that, because domestic violence is a power game and control that disables the neurons. In theory, the victim should be able to do it, but in reality, that is the same as asking someone who has been bedridden for years to jump up and run a marathon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very true.
So that's where somebody said, well, there are people being physically abused in Britain and Europe, and victims sometimes choose not to prosecute. So yes, my mom was earning more than my dad, but never used it against my dad. Somebody said, yeah, it's true. The children hear the noise behind the closed doors, then live in fear. That noise will one day come out and find them. These behind closed doors fights for a child are like the monsters in the closet. They know one day the monster will come out. So we have a lot of people that have commented on Facebook, and I'm not really looking at the YouTube yet. And they say for some is some fear, the fear of the unknown and the pressure exempt by family to stay for the sake of the children. So someone asked, and this one is to Babu Owino, Honorable Babu Owino. Someone asked, what are the rates of convictions what are the rate of convictions for perpetrators? Do you have that, Honorable Babu Owino? Somebody actually asked that to you personally.
Actually, the person has reminded me of a case that was there's a judge the other day who wanted to be a Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. So this judge handled a defilement case, and this is how the case went, and it came, probably you will judge whether it was haunting him or it was the right thing to do. Number one, this guy defiled a lady. He was 19 years. The lady was around 17 years, if I'm not wrong. Then they got a baby together. Then decided to get married. Then one day, this lady went to visit the parents. They were just staying nearby. Then the child got sick. The father-in-law went to look for the man, for the boy, let me in quotes. Then he found him playing pool table. So at the pool table, the boy told the father-in-law, I've understood you, I'm just finishing this match. Then I'll accompany you, we'll go together. Then the father-in-law got annoyed, went away, went and reported the case. So when he reported the case to the authority, the man was arrested. Let me call him the man. The man was arrested, taken to court, charged for defilement. Then, after the charge, he was imprisoned. Then he appealed. On appeal, he was left free.
Wow.
So when he was left free, the judge gave the following decision. The judge said that the wife came to court and said that they were married. And number two, that when this man, remember, in defilement case, you only prove the age. So the fact that there was a baby into existence shows that there was defilement when the lady was a minor. So the lady argued that this is a man in my life. We were married, although I'm still a minor. But this child, if you imprison this man, this child is going to miss his dad, and this child will miss a person who will provide for him. So the judge let this man free. So during the interview, he was asked this question. And he said, as a moral obligation, as a human being, I felt like being a human being and let this person free. So it comes back to the person who asked me that question about the rate of conviction. I'll go back to, again, there are some cases which are decided on moral grounds or on humanitarian grounds. There are some cases which are not determined on that ground. For example, when you assault your partner, there is no way it can be decided on a moral ground. But probably if the victim herself or the victim himself pleads that it is necessary for the accused to be in his or her life, then a case can be determined differently irrespective of the facts of the case and the law. So when it comes to issues of confinement, when you're found guilty, I think that depends on the facts of the case, on the merits and the demerits.
Okay.
I can leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so now, once again, thank you so much, everybody who is watching on YouTube. Thank you very much, everybody who's watching on Facebook. Thank you for taking your time and coming to listen to us. Thank you so much. So we appreciate your comments. We appreciate, somebody said, when a man has abused, when a man has abusive control over his wife in the house, they feel they can live without consequences, which is why I feel Lydia is right. Somebody said in terms, okay, there's so many messages here, I'm not going to read all of them. Somebody asked, what is the success rates of convictions? Okay, so moving on. So now, Jerry, you deal with so many severe cases in your constituency, and I'm happy because Honorable Babu Owino is here today.
And lastly, before you finish, Lydia, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Before you finish, when it comes to also conviction, there are different ways of convicting or solving some of these issues. Number one, some people go for restorative justice, to restore, to bring back the person to where the person was. Restorative, that is alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, which is enshrined in the Constitution. Some people go for retributive justice, where you say that you must be convicted. So it also depends on what a person wants. If the conviction where you are going to prison is sufficient, then it depends on what you want to achieve. If it is about restorative, it also depends on what you want to achieve. But both are systems of justice.
Okay. Okay.
Good explanation there.
Okay, thank you very much. So I was going to Jerry now. Jerry, I know you deal with so many severe cases, and I was saying that I'm glad because Honorable Babu Owino is here and you guys are in the same constituency, so you can actually see how people are working behind the scene and see how it can also step in and help, because we need help. Jerry, Usikime, we need help. So Jerry, I just want you to tell us, what is the most horrific case you've dealt with? Because I know there are times I call you and I tell you, my lady, you need counseling. You need counseling because what you're going through. Sometimes I call you, you're serving people porridge. You're forever doing something for the community for no gain at all. And that's why I think you should be there. You should be receiving awards for working for being a philanthropist without wanting anything in return. So tell us, what is the horrific case that you've ever dealt with? And I'm not saying other ones are not horrific, but what is the one that you've ever dealt with? And I know last time we spoke about a 4 months old baby that was defined by their own dad. That made me cry. So don't talk about that.
Yes.
Talk about something else.
No, that was a 4-day-old. First, I want to say something in regards to something that my MP say, and then maybe I'll pick it up from there. The man that was meant to be the MP was vying for the Chief Justice. He used somebody else's case, and that wasn't his case. That case was by FM Juma of Homa Bay. The case the case you've just mentioned, he used it, but that wasn't the case that lost him the chief.
Jerry, oh, somebody was calling. It's fine. Maybe they'll call back. Go on.
So what cost him is Chief Justice seat, and also got him the golden, the worst case hearing of 2016 was a judgment he passed when he was in Kilifi, where he said a 13-year-old who is a minor who had been raped, he said that because she had started her periods, she was mature enough. And that is what costed him the Chief Justice seat. Anyway, back to the thing. We have a case, it's still ongoing, where a woman was, let's call her
Jerry,
G.
1 minute. Can I stop you there? Can I stop you there and take this phone call just to hear what this person has to say? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, we can hear you. Hello. Thank you so much for the phone call. Thank you for joining us today. Do you have a question for us in the studio today?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, mine is not really a question, but to support probably what Babu has just said.
What Honorable Babu Owino said, yes?
Yeah, the issue of prosecuting TV is like, for a successful conviction to happen,
I can't hear him.
More complainer. So in most cases, you find the way the structure or the way the Kenyan community is, you find like this person was married from whatever community or whatever socioeconomic status. And then something happened. You go and report to the police. Now, usually, your in-laws or whatever your parents come in and they're like, okay, can you guys just solve it? Or between the time that the person is between the time the case goes to court and the time the assault happens, there's no protection of the victim. That, like, for example, in England, let's say you are arrested for passing your bail, so like, do not go to this person.
Can you guys hear the question?
No.
We can't really hear you. We can't really hear the question. It's really in and out, so I can't really hear what you're saying.
I'm an alcoholic.
Okay. Sorry, Jerry, go on. Sorry.
All right. I was saying we have had a case right here in Soweto where a woman was living with a man. The man's wife had left a while ago, and so they were living together. They'd been living even for a year, and the woman even they'd finished a year, and she'd even gotten pregnant, gotten a baby. The baby was about 3 months. Yeah. Now what happened is this other first wife, Makubuka, there was a wife who had left, and she's even stayed with this guy for almost 2 years. She decided she's coming back, came with her best friend, beat this woman up. Her husband joined him. Her husband and another man joined up. They also beat her together. Wow. And then once they beat her together, the husband and the friend raped her and then put a pipe in her. Now, while they were doing all these things, remember there was a small baby, so the baby fell and fractured the skull. And then the woman, even up till now, we haven't gotten the money that we need to be able to take her to hospital, because this bone moved and came here, right here in the palm. So the bone is here and the finger is here. So this hand is literally, she's not able to use it. This is a current case that you're doing, but luckily for us that the 4 of them managed to be arrested, and the man and his wife, they were both charged with rape. The man and his wife. The other couple were charged with physical assault. So we're still in court fighting this. But my main appeal is we need funds to take, let me call her D to hospital, so that this can be resolved. And as you know, we are not funded, so we are self-funded. Everything we do is from well-wishers and from our own pocket. So we haven't been able. What I did is relocate her, because now she was thrown out of the house. She was sick. She had a sick child. We went to Mama Lucy. At least the child was treated. She's doing well. We managed to get for her a house where she's living. So we are taking care of her. That's another person in the many list of people that we take care of in Soweto. As my MP, how can you help?
Honorable Babu is here.
Thank you very much, Jerry. I think Lydia kindly share my number with Jerry, and or just text me a number, I'll call her. Then tomorrow we can take the lady to the hospital. And if you hear of any other issues or cases, kindly involve me. The little that we have, we will share to at least help assist the community. And I want to thank you very much for the great job you are doing in Soweto.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Honorable Babu, we know we are actually going to do a follow-up on that story. So to find out if you kept to your end of bargain. So thank you so much, Honorable.
Or I'm just being a politician.
Oh yeah, just, I know. So we are going to find out.
We hope not. We hope not.
we pray and hope not, because Jerry is actually doing a lot of work, and she's actually a proper, if anybody stands up and say, I'm a philanthropist, I'll give her that 100%. She's doing so much. And so I just wanted to ask, because I hear all these cases, especially even in your constitution, Honorable Babu Owino. So we just want to know, what is, as a policy maker, what is in place? Can you please enlighten us more into what policies or legislation are in place to terms of DV or violence in general? Because like Jerry said earlier, or I think Magnus mentioned it as well, is the policies and they're in place, especially in Kenya, they're against the victim, probably more for the perpetrator than the victim. So just enlighten us more in that one. I know, Honorable Babu.
I think I already handled this because we have a penal code where we have every case placed on where it belongs. If there's assault, the person will be charged with assault. If there's assault with a grievous harm, the person is charged with assault causing grievous harm. If the violence leads to death, loss of life, the person is charged with murder. If the loss of death was intentional with malice aforethought, it is murder. If it wasn't intentional and an accidental death, then it's manslaughter. Then we also have cases for rape, that is sex without consent, where you only have to prove the consent. If it was not there, you only have to prove the consent, and also penetration. And then we also have defilement, where you only have to prove age. So I think we have sufficient ways to charge the accused persons.
Yeah,
and as per to the facts of the case, that depends on how you prove your case.
Yeah, but all these
with
are
the
in place.
prosecution.
All these are in place, Babu. We know, with all due respect.
Now, when it comes to children, we have the Children's Protection Act that is taking care of our children. So we also still have the penal code that is taking care of the children. So if, for example, there's an assault, there is no any other thing the person will be charged with apart from an assault. So I think there's already enough and sufficient laws. So what we need to work on probably is the institutions.
Okay.
And with the institutions, yes.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it's just the implementation. Are they actually really implemented, or they're just in the book, but on the ground things are different? Because we have a lot of people who actually, yeah.
You know, when I was talking about the various types of justice, one is retributive, where a person is found guilty, a person is charged, found guilty, imprisoned. There is a restorative form of justice, where we embrace the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, reconciliation, mediation, arbitration. Litigation is also put there as some of the ways of ADR, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. So there are different justice systems. Justice does not just mean you have to go to prison alone. So it depends on how the victim also feels. How do you want justice? That also is very important. So here it again boils down to the victim's interest. Some victims want ADR, some victims want imprisonment, retributive form of justice.
Okay.
Yes.
So in your opinion, what do you think about kangaroo courts?
A kangaroo court probably is just a court of public opinion. So most of the time, a court of public opinion goes with the morality in it. In law, I learned something, that something immoral is not necessarily illegal. For example, if you don't smoke cigarette, to you it is an immoral thing. But is it illegal? It is legalized. Prostitution in some countries is legalized. But is it a moral thing? It ain't. So, court of public opinion, or the kangaroo courts, majorly, they don't look at the facts, they don't look at the law. They look at the morality part of it, of which they're also right in their own way. So for me, every court of public opinion, a court of law, they're right in their own ways.
But
the best court to get justice, for example, if you meet somebody in Soweto slums, the person steals a radio, most likely this person will be beaten to death by the mob. That is a kangaroo court. That is a court of public opinion, because morally they've seen that it is wrong. So we have to trauma this body. We have to ban this person. This person must die. But if you kill him, you're also liable for murder. But you see, to them, it was probably the best type of justice that they could meet on the person. That's all I can say.
Okay. I also have another question here. Honorable Babu Owino needs to answer the question. Are some people better than others or above the law when it comes to domestic violence or violence in general? Because they say that some perpetrators, because of either influence or power, they tend to get away with either violence or domestic violence. Do you think that's true?
Now, for me, let me just go straight to the question that the person probably wanted to ask, is that probably some of the leaders with influence, why would they probably get away with some of these things? You saw Jacob Zuma the other day has been imprisoned for 15 months. Why? For contempt of court. We've seen presidents being jailed. You saw the other day in Burkina Faso, how do I pronounce it? Compadre, who was a best friend of Thomas Sankara. The judgment was being issued in his absence. So all these things can catch up at a later date. And I want to say that for you to lead, you must agree to be a servant. A leader is a servant. And there's a notion that once you are in a political office or you are in a high position of influence, then you can influence everything. It doesn't work that way. The other day, the president could not influence the court process, which ruled that BBI is null and void, was null and void as at that time. And then it has been appealed at the Court of Appeal. He's following the process as the President of the Republic of Kenya. So that is showing a good example, together with Raila Amolo Odinga, showing a good example that at least the process is being followed. The problem with the public is that they are not patient because they want instant justice. And I can tell you, if the public was there during, of which they were there, but if they were judging the King Solomon's case, where King Solomon decided and said, I will not cut the baby into two, but I will give the baby to this woman who deserved it, who deserved the baby. But the public opinion would have said, cut the baby into two and give them one to take the other side and the other one to take the other side. So I think we need patience.
Okay.
And probably speeding up of some of these court cases.
Okay.
Because a leader, for example, is always known is always just guilty from the onset. There's something that even me, I'm involved in a court that I will not go into the facts because of the matter before a court of law is sub judice. So for me, the public already say that this is the most evil person I've ever seen. The public is also forgetting that the Bible says no man is righteous. The public is saying if it is Babu in his position, probably there is something he wanted to achieve. So the public who is, by the public I don't mean everybody, some, because they feel that this person should just also be destroyed, you know, without going into the facts and without asking certain questions. If, for example, the intention was to kill, why was this person taken to the hospital? And for that matter, not any other hospital, but Nairobi Hospital. Why were the bills being paid? Let's ask ourselves certain questions before we rush into making certain decisions. Why would these things be done in the public if the intention was to take life? Why didn't this person send even goons to attack? Those are possibilities if you wanted to be crude. So before judging, let us ask certain questions. But because a person somewhere could just be hating Babu, if he hears the name Babu Owino, then this is an evil person, an epitome of evil. So let's not judge. Let's not pass judgment. Let us just be patient with each other.
In fact, I'm actually waiting for that case to finish in court. I'll be the first one to bring you in my studio to grill you on that case. But now I can't talk about it, like you said, it's in court. But when
Lydia, I would really love to spend like 2 hours just talking about this case. When it's done, and it's getting done soon, I will explain every single detail of that case, of what happened.
Okay.
I will explain. I really want to talk about it.
I hope I'll get exclusivity from that story from you. So you say that, and my audience have heard that.
Yes, we've heard it.
Okay,
yes.
cool. Okay, so thank you very much for that. And my next question is to, now I know you've been a victim of domestic violence, and I know Magnus have been as well, and Jerry, but I don't want you to tell us, because we've spoken about it already, but I just want you to tell us, what was your last resort? Like, I'm done, I'm going. I know my last resort. I know my last resort when I said I'm going. And it's so funny because with me, even though I took, okay, somebody's calling again. Oh, so many missed calls. Hello?
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to kind of thank the Honorable Babu, is that the correct name? Because he's given quite a good explanation of the laws around the crimes that can be associated with domestic violence. But I think the laws might be there. The main issue is that people are not educated enough. Domestic violence victims are not in a place, first of all, to report. First of all, get the support that they require in terms of actually being assisted with making sure that they're safe in the process of actually reporting those crimes. And the support that follows after that in terms of psychological and social and the physical abuse they've gone through. And also the fear factor that they live with the perpetrators. So there is actually need to make sure that it doesn't come home and make it worse. So there's backlash, isn't it? So the perpetrator goes to court, they come back home, they've been released for some reason or the other, and they actually do worse things. Yeah. So I think there's need for an education around making people aware of what is domestic violence. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that phone call. I think Jerry actually did mention about education, that people need to be educated more about what domestic violence is. Yes. And I don't know Babu Owino, Honorable Babu Owino, sorry, I have to use, I have to give honor where honor is.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Did you hear what the gentleman just contributed? He was talking about the perpetrators, because when they are judged and they're allowed to come back, they actually come back, most of them, to the home where the victim is, or sometimes the victims are not protected well enough. And I know there's a case, and that case, Jerry, I saw it on her page, but I also had it on Tuko, I think, where there's a lady who actually ran away, totally ran away, but the ex or the husband or whatever came and lived next to her and actually almost killed her. He was in her house. So you see, that's what the gentleman is saying who just called now. There is not enough protection and support given to the victims.
Safe havens are necessary.
I think.
Go on.
I think that's where the institutions must be worked on, because number one, there's also we have the Victims Protection Act, and also we have how victims can be protected. We have those institutions. So there should be a follow-up. I think that is now people sleeping in their jobs.
Yeah.
And number two, the main reason for these convictions is always to rehabilitate. The main reason, the core reason is to rehabilitate. Because when you are in prison for even 10, 15, 20, or even for life, the main reason is it is a rehabilitation center.
Yeah.
Where you are found guilty, the society feels that you are not fit to be among them. But after serving your term, if you want to fit in back into the society, how is this person? Is the person rehabilitated well? So I think that there should be measures of even after people have left prison, there should be follow-ups where people are being followed to get to know how they are doing. Because somebody can get out, there's no financial support,
Yes.
there is nowhere, there is no shelter, there is no means of getting food, then a person gets involved into a crime again. Most people, they prefer that, okay, I've been in prison, I was eating for free accommodation, free food, free security. Then what do? You come out and you commit crime again so that you just go back, because outside there's no opportunity.
Yeah.
But there are also those people that they are well rehabilitated, where when they come out, they start living another decent life. I can assure you, I was in prison. I can assure you, there is no any place where people are praying than in prison. We were waking up at 5 a.m. to pray, and you genuinely pray because you're in problems for God to help you. And these are things that we really would like to discuss at another time. So I believe that there are those who are well rehabilitated, and there are those who have lost hope in prison, where if they live there, there is no means, so they just want to stay there.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's the same
Yeah.
here. Yeah, it's
yeah,
the same
yeah.
here. So thank you very much. We have a lot of people calling, but now I don't know if I'll pick. I see 4 missed calls right now. So, like I was saying, what was your last resort? Like, I'm done. I'm going. Tandy.
I think for me, it was a situation where I felt like I was in a prison. You see, at the end, you're suffocating and the walls are slowly coming in and drawing in and in and in. And not being able to do the activities I used to be able to do, or talk to the people I used to talk to, and go to the places I used to be able to go to because of the fact that I am now married. And sometimes you see, and Jerry spoke about religion, and religion is good, and at the same time, religion can also come in a negative way, because you are then forced, as religion, you are not allowed to divorce. You are not allowed to divorce. And you continue to suffocate, and it kills you inside. And I'll never forget, I actually remember the day I went into the bathroom. I had been crying, it had been happening time and time again. I went to the bathroom, and as it was now a routine. You get shouted at, abused and everything, and then I cry, and I go to bed. It was like a pattern. But there was a day when I went into the bathroom, I cried, and I looked into the mirror. And that's the day I got my power back.
So you spoke to yourself.
I spoke to myself
and you took
in the
your
mirror.
power back.
I took my power back, and instead of going back to the bedroom to go to sleep like normal, I went back into the lounge, picked up the remote control, and I changed the channel. And it was like,
what are you doing?
What,
hello?
What's happening? Why? What? And I thought, listen, if you have a problem, you get out. So it's whatever, it's something in me, because the fire was dying, it was dead, and I needed to get it reignited. And I am a Christian 110%, and I was like, God, this is not what you assigned me for. This is not what life is. And I grew up in a family where it was all love. My mom and my dad, it was all love. And I'm in this environment where I'm like, this is foreign to me. I'm trapped. I'm in a prison, and I felt like I put myself in the prison, locked myself, and threw the key out of the window. That's how I felt.
You gave your power away. I'm back to the power thing. You gave your power away.
But it was up until I spoke to myself, and actually sometimes, like I think Honorable was talking about how of a strong character you are, and I like to think that I myself, I'm like that. But now a lot of people are not, and there's a lot of women empowerment groups which has started, and as well as men. And here we have Magnus, who is one of them, where we need those kind of groups.
We need men
to help and empower both men and the women. And that is helping people to be able to stand up. Because just saying it, you see, you are surrounded by family, the society, where it will label you, it will, you know, demean you. But then once you have it in a group that you're able to release and talk to, it will help you. So for me, I remember I didn't have that because I didn't talk to people. It was the mirror. And I think God must have spoken to me and said
Who
to
am
me,
I? You're a beautiful woman.
God said,
out.
no.
Get out.
This is not it, my daughter.
Yeah.
You need to get out. So that was for me.
I even like say what you said, that just saying it, okay? I've been here with Jerry so many times. We've spoken about domestic violence all the time. And I say to myself, this is just saying it.
Yeah.
And then, because she doesn't get help from anybody, just good Samaritans, like somebody 50 pounds here, 100 pounds here. And I thought, somebody who is in her constitution, who has the power, who changes, makes policies, needs to hear about Jerry.
Definitely.
And that is why I invited Honorable Babu Owino.
That was a very smart move.
And I know I got attacked 100% because I'm glad Honorable Owino actually mentioned what happened to him or what he's going through right now with the case that is happening. I won't mention it. I'm glad he did mention that case because of that case, people thought I shouldn't bring him to discuss TV but my point so much was I'm tired of just saying it. I'm tired of just telling Jerry it's going to be okay, because it's not going to be okay.
No.
Somebody needs to know that Jerry is here and this is what she's doing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Honorable Babu Owino is here and they're in the same constituency.
Oh, wow.
So that he can now
be
do
able
something
to
about
address it and do something about it on
and
the
we're
ground
going
work.
to do a follow-up as well.
Yeah.
Because he has a story that I want to know and the whole world wants to know. But I want to know it first in my show, Omega TV, on Wednesday. We want to know first what happened behind the scenes.
What happened behind the scenes.
Yes.
And it's important.
And it's very important. And when we're going to know that, we're also going to do a follow-up with Jerry Usikimie. Did Honorable Babu Owino actually do what he did? Because they'll say that politicians are always just talk, but no action. Now we want to see, I'm saying this, Honorable Owino, I know you're laughing, but they say it's just talk. But I'm here with Jerry.
It's interesting because it's funny how people always say politicians are very bad, and to summarize it all, probably are evil. And the same people are the ones who line up to elect these politicians.
I don't think...
it's high time we also need to trust our leaders.
Yeah,
we need to trust our leaders.
It's true. And that's why Honorable Babu Owino, I trust that you're going to help Jerry. Not Jerry, I don't want to say Jerry, but you're going to help the organization Usikimie. Because even if Jerry is not here today, the organization is still there. So that is why I'm trusting you to do that. Thank you. So I'll come back to the same question that I asked you, Tandy, to Jerry. I know Jerry also went through domestic violence. What was your... You know what? I'm done. I'm getting out. So we know Tandy was the mirror. What was it, Jerry?
What did you ask again?
What was what was your last resort? And you say, you know what, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here.
I think it was a series of events, but really, I just one day he asked me, and he was quite a rich man. So when he told me nothing can get me out of his home unless I'm even pulled by what's that thing that pulls a crane? I don't know why. Forget the beatings. Forget I'm part deaf because of all the beatings I've gone through. But I don't know why that provoked me. He just said, "Nothing. You know you're poor. You cannot leave my home because and even if a crane was." And I don't know why that. I think that was just the trigger for me, and I just went. And I remember I walked with just slippers in my feet, and I left. And that was Runda, and I just walked. I didn't even know there was Ruaka before me. I just walked and I went there and I got a single room and I just said, I'm moving in here. I told the landlord, I don't have money, I don't have a mattress. I will pay you. But he was looking at me and he's like, unafanya nini hapa? You look lost. Real? But that was it. That was the trigger for me. And I don't know why that I felt so disrespected. I felt like he had disrespected my parents, my ancestors. Like being poor is a sin. But really, I think it was a culmination of so many things. As I said, I'm part deaf. And that's from somebody who burst my eardrum on this one. Yeah. But if I didn't happen, I would probably not be doing what I do now.
That's true.
So,
So everything happens for a reason. It's never in vain.
it's fortuitous, let's just say it that way. It took a lot of healing and a lot of working on myself and a lot of shadow work and a lot of healing to be the counseling, to be the person I am today, not to be angry, bitter, and to just, give back to the organization that we have today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Magnus, I'm done. I'm done.
Yes, I'm done. Very simple. I remember it like it was yesterday because it was almost like 3 years ago. It was actually probably 3.5 years ago. It was standard. She'd come home drunk and say some really, really nasty things or not talk to me like for 2 weeks. Come home drunk almost every single day and not just say anything. And this particular day, I had come from hospital probably 2-3 weeks. I can't remember the exact timeline, but I'd relapsed. The second time I relapsed, I'd gone to hospital. Then I came back home and, I was trying to find my way because the second relapse was really, really bad. And I remember she came home one day, very drunk. I'd called her before and she was having a lot of fun with her friends. And she said she's not going to come home. And she came home, I don't know, midnight or something. And I was waiting. And she said, I want you to get out today. I want you to get out tomorrow. Sorry, I want you to get out tomorrow and go. Then I asked, what do you mean? I have just come from hospital. And she said, I don't care. Those words, I just listened. I remember she ranted and kept saying, I don't care. She said, I don't care probably like 50 times as she ranted, drunk. And I said, okay, let me sleep on it. And as I went to sleep, I just remember those words coming back, and told myself, you know what, if I don't get out, if I actually don't stop this, I'm going to die. If I accept to move out, I'm actually going to die because the shame would kill me. The shame, first, I just won't walk away. I was a 40-year-old man. Who am I going to go to and just knock at their door and tell them? For women, it's different. For women, it's very different. Damn, matter when you're 50. You walk into your mother's house. For me, it was not the case. I can't just walk, even to my brother's or my sister's house. It's just not so simple. And I went, slept on it. I think it was 2 days because she didn't come home, probably a day or the weekend. And after 2-3 days, she came back and I just told her, I stood in the same place we had talked. I told her, you're the one going to get out, not me. You said you don't care. I don't care too. You're going to get out. That was the end for me. And I could see the shock in her face because she expected me to walk away. And remember, I was paying rent. I was doing everything. The shock on her face when I said, I'm not going, because she was used to me just cowering and just, probably just keeping the peace. Like what Babu said. Sometimes you just say, you know what, I love this woman so much. Let me keep quiet. Let me postpone this fight. Let me reason. Let me be the bigger person. Let me be the better person. That moment I just told her, you know what? I don't care also. You're the one going to get out.
I'm done.
And that brought back my power. Yeah.
Power back.
Yeah, she moved out and everything, but I was, yeah.
So that is when you go your power back. You see, we're coming back to the power business. So that's when you go your power back. The mirror made you get your power back. Yeah. She was thought she was poor. That made her took her power back. That made her take her power back. He was told to get up, and the man just came from the hospital, and he took his power back. So at the end of the day, we have to take our powers back from the perpetrators. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, everybody. I know we're going to come. This is not the end, and Jerry knows that. Domestic violence is something that I try to do once a month. Because there's, especially after COVID, there's been a lot of domestic violence, both internationally. It's not just in the UK or in Kenya, everywhere. Yeah. There's a pandemic that nobody's talking about, committing suicide. People are committing suicide like right, left, center. It's not being spoken about. No. There's domestic violence is not being spoken about. We're only concerned of COVID. Okay, but there's something worse than COVID out there. but no one is saying anything
No
about
one
it.
is saying anything.
So we're going to come back, especially with Jerry, because she's always here with me when I'm talking about domestic violence. So I'll say thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I'm going to give you just seconds, okay, to talk about to people out there, okay? So I'm going to give you seconds, Tandy, to just talk to parents who involve children in their battlefield. Look at your camera there.
Okay. You see, as a parent, in as much as you may think staying in a relationship that is abusive, whether it's financially, physically, emotionally, and staying in there is for the sake of the children is the biggest mistake you could ever make. If you're going to put your children first, think about how this is going to affect them mentally, how it's going to affect them and affect them in their next generation. They grow up. These are the leaders of tomorrow. And right now, when you then look 10, 20 years later at a leader who is abusive because of what they have witnessed, that is where it generates from when they look back. So to the parent, whoever it may be, whether it's a guardian, a mother, a father, or a grandparent, we want to be able to show love to our children. And love is not shown by being physical or having any form of abuse to the children. It's our responsibility to safeguard the children. It's our responsibility to protect the children from any means whatsoever. If we're able to protect our children from a teacher, from somebody in the street, a madman in the street, why can we not protect our children in the house? It starts from home. So we have to protect our children in the house, safeguard them no matter the circumstances, and you will be able to provide them no matter how desperate you may be at that time, but things will always change. And think about your children and think about their future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tandy, for that.
No problem.
So I'll ask Jerry the same thing. Just few seconds, speak to women out there who are in domestic violence. Just speak to women.
You can leave. I know it's hard and it seems like it's insurmountable and like every odd is against you. But imagine you can leave and you can start over again. I know it's hard and I know the children will probably be left with you and you're feeling some type of way. How will I start? How will the women of my chama see me? How will my church, my people, the society? But imagine, I would rather deal with a divorced woman, I don't know why the camera keeps doing this to me, than a dead woman. You're better off living, starting to take care of your children. The more the children keep on watching you being abused, what are you telling your children? That violence is equals to love, love is equals to violence? What are you telling these children as they're growing up? That it is okay for them to watch their mother get abused? So you need to leave, you need to walk away. You can start over again. Love yourself. Just give yourself space and talk to me if you're in a situation where you feel like you need help.
Yeah.
I'm on Usikimi on Facebook or Usikimi on Twitter. You can find me there or on my own personal page, and Jerry Megwe on Facebook. Yeah. So I hope you choose yourself. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you. Magnus, seconds as well. Just speak to men.
I'll speak to men straight up. I'll say two things. Number one, I'll say it's none of your business what other men think about you. Absolutely none of your business. It's none of your business what people say about you. If you're in an abusive relationship, you need to say no, it's going to stop, and you've got to be able to take back that power. I know at some point you might have been pushed to a point where you might think that it's unfair. The woman is the weaker sex, as what said, but an abusive person is an abusive person regardless of gender, and you need to put a stop to it and say no, and say two things. Either you tell her get out, or you get out yourself. So it's depending on the situation. You should be able to say that. And number two, I just urge all men, because this has been big. This has come up all over so many times, so many inboxes I get. Please don't take your life. Please don't take your life. It's not worth it. Yes, your ego is hurt. Yes, you're probably at that place where you're broken, you're torn, you don't know where to start over, you're probably nothing. You're depending on, you're probably sick in my situation, and you have nothing to say. You have nothing else, but do not take your life. Seek help from people, from professional people who matter, who care, from a doctor, especially a doctor. In fact, I would send any man right now Do not be ashamed of the situation you are in. If you are going through domestic abuse, please reach out to a doctor and a counselor. They will not laugh at you, and save your life. Fight tirelessly to stay alive. You have so much more to live for.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And last, Honorable Babu Owino, I know for you it's not just talk to people, but what is a question I'm putting out there for you. I know you had an education program, because I saw what you did when you helped the children with their education, and they did so well. So thank you so much for that. But now, today also, I just want you to give us what you can tell us about your own constitution, the change that you're going to bring in regards to DV.
I think that's very wide. The change that I can bring is, first of all, to advise the parties who are involved in domestic violence. To men, love is patient, love never hurts, love is forgiving. Focus on the bigger picture why you got married to that lady. And the most important thing, love your lady, love your woman, love your wife as Christ loved the church. To women, learn to say sorry, be submissive, also love your husband. To both men and women, communication is key in marriage. Sit down, discuss issues, learn to forgive each other. Do not give up easily on each other. Sit down, discuss. Go for counseling if need be. Don't just throw away your marriage just like that. Maybe, and maybe, that was the last violence that the man was meeting on you, or the woman was meeting on the man, for that man to change, or for that woman to change. And always remember, I always treat challenges as opportunities. Know that the pieces, the mistakes that you are making, they are part of your success. Maybe if they were not there, your marriage would have not been successful. Maybe. I'm not saying that it should be there. But the most important thing to men and women, invite God in your marriage. Let God be the driving person, the driving factor in your marriage, and it will be successful. People have succeeded in it, you can succeed. Going back to the issue of the constitution that you talked about, let's pass BBI. It will solve a lot. When there's funding at the grassroots level, at the county level, at the ward level, then maybe domestic violence can reduce. So let's support BBI. Thank you and God bless you all.
I'll actually disregard the support
But
of
is
BBI.
enough legislation.
I'll disregard that, because that is people's opinion now. We're not going to talk politics. So I'll totally disregard the BBI. Guys, it's up to you. We did not hear that. Okay? Am I for BBI? I don't know. Am I against? I don't know. Okay? So, Honorable Babu Owino, no BBI in the show. All right, so thank you so much, everybody who tuned in today. Thank you so much for those who watched on YouTube. Thank you for those who watched on Facebook. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. Thank you so much, Tandy, for taking your time. You drove for almost 2 hours to get here, so thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Babu Owino. I know when I called you just left Parliament and there was traffic and you were rushing. I hope you didn't drive like a madman and got some tickets. Honorable Babu Owino, I don't want to see tomorrow on TV that you are driving like a maniac because you had to come to the show. And thank you so much, Magnus, who was actually here on time waiting for us. So thank you. And Jerry as well was stuck on traffic, but she managed to log in. So thank you so much, Jerry. And thank you for your philanthropist, and thank you for the hard work that you're doing for the community. Guys, if you've been affected by this program in any way or form, please seek help. If you're in Kenya, please get in touch with Jerry. Usikimia is there on Facebook. You can find it. If you're in the UK or anywhere around the world, there's so many help centers that you can actually just Google and find. Please seek help. And remember, one man's poison is another man's meat. So if you're poisoned for that woman or that man, you are somebody's really sweet meat somewhere else. They call it what's that meat the Nigerians like? Suya. You're somebody's suya somewhere else, or somebody's nyamachoma. So don't sit there and be treated like you're rubbish, okay?
No.
So until then, love you so much, guys. And I always say, see you next week on Wednesday again, the same time, 6 p.m. London time, 8 p.m. Kenyan time. And I'll say my slogan, it can only be God. So see you guys. Until then, God bless you. Bye.